G'day there, it's Dave here, Dave Mills, with another exciting look at the Endgame, the chess Endgame. Now this is a game that happened between Nakamura and Flores. Basically, Nakamura is white, and black just cannot stop the onslaught. That is the amazing player Nakamura. Nakamura is one of my favorite players to watch. If I can watch him play live, it's even better. He's, he like him and Magnus, just Carlsen, the world champion, just two perfect examples. Now, what's so exciting about in this age of technicians is just how well they play. Like, just automatically they play the right moves. They take very little time, and they're always finding the most beautiful ideas and plans, and regardless of the situation. So they're the best players, some of the best players to ever live. And Flores is no slouch himself, top player. So very strong player. So looking at this point of view, obviously, immediately I see that loose bishop at h3 is a potential target. I also see that that white is has a knight in their half a board and a bishop, and vice versa. And obviously something that should just leap out straight away is the rooks. When you compare the rooks, black's rook is behind that advanced e-pawn, whereas white's rook is on an open file. It's very nice. And we can see that ideas like rook d3 just it must have gone through Nakamura's mind. He's a great tactician, he's just incredible. And so his pattern recognition, he would see that that knight is pinned to the bishop, and would see that you could sort of pile up, get a numbers match up against that knight, two beats one. But that knight, white's knight is loose at c6, and that I can actually see that potentially that bishop can go to h4 and hit f2 with that knight. So black's no slouch, but also white's bishop is cutting off the black king on the weak dark squares, and black's light square bishop is cutting off the king on the weak light squares. And both players have a bishop that can potentially deal with those light squares. Now, looking at this position here, it's the end game. So what did we learn in the earlier audios? Well, we learned that you should attack their weak pawns. That is that's a golden strategy in the end game, because remember, end game's like putting in golf. So it's all about the pawns. So we can actually see what happens is white has an isolated but passed edge pawn. So obviously, what is a golden plan in the endgame is to push past pawns. And so we have this sort of a situation where, when I'm playing fast chess, say 3 minutes aside, I make this mistake as well. I mean, I would play rook b3, and make this. I get lured by false gold when I'm playing quickly, and I don't have time to really think. But what marks sort of elite players like Nakamura is that he does, under even extreme time pressure, find the optimal path. And when you get computers to look at it, you find after they've crunched for a while, he's found the absolutely right plan. And that's what marks the difference between the top players in the world and the rest of us. So looking at this position here, the passed A pawn has to be, we know that in the end game it's about the pawns, it's about attacking their weak pawns, and it's about pushing past pawns. So obviously Nakamura here he discarded all the distractions, got rid of them, cleared his mind, and immediately he played a4. So now that pawn has moved, I mean, it's like declaring the intention, and I'm always sort of chiding myself, I'm always reminding myself, past pawns need to be pushed, to be more energetic with them, and not be distracted by any other plan. Like it brings everything else into clarity. And the game continued, bishop h4, which is, it's good resultant forces, combining the torque from the knight and combining the bishops. So on f2, I mean, that's a good strategy. And now by moving bishop h4, you're actually pressuring something. So Nakamura, he's happy to break up his bishop pair at this point. He's happy to play bishop takes knight and lock that off. And no, sorry, doesn't do that. Actually plays bishop e3. There we go. I need to put my glasses on when I do these audios. Anyway, so bishop e3. There we go. So that makes more sense. So after bishop h4, bishop e3, he centralizes his bishop. But this is and obviously points it towards the path the pawn needs to go to promote. So that's actually it. Obviously, black tries to advance pawns, but the defender shouldn't advance pawns. Advanced pawns are an advantage to the attacker, and obviously white is the attacker here, so it's breaching those principles we discussed last time. So after bishop e3, f4, the g-pawn captures it, g-pawn recaptures, and obviously then white can advance the pawn, and this is the point I want to get to. The point I want to get to is the pawns march to a5, and and black tries f4, and the game continues, but black has a few ideas, but in the end of the day, after the forcing lines, Nakamura promotes the pawn. And what I want to emphasize here is, if you're a club player, a strong chess player, if you're someone who regularly wins the club championship, even if you're a beginner or if you're a chess master, this fundamental principle needs to be burned into your brain about pushing past pawns. When I look at games all the time, when I watch games played live all the time, particularly under time pressure, the two endgame plans, of attacking weak pawns and squares, and attacking pushing the past pawns, they're constantly ignored, they're constantly missed. They chase fool's gold. Like rook b3 would have been the mistake that I might have made, particularly under a time scramble of the endgame, just trying to hit some targets there, and like that minor cog of that loose h3 bishop, might have a go at it, and completely, and then a few moves later go, oh, why didn't I play a4? Why didn't I play a5? Why wasn't I driving that pawn forward? Getting that, once the pawn gets to a7, it's quite crippling on the on black's position. At that point, suddenly, the two passed pawns that are connected on the 6th or the 3rd rank are more powerful than a rook. A rook can go behind one, it advances, goes behind the other, then obviously it just promotes, and it can't stop the other pawn advancing, threatening to promote, and it's for either pawn. It's just the rook cannot stop those two connected passed pawns. That just shows you it's that those two connected passed pawns have on the 6th or the 3rd rank are worth more than a rook. So they've jumped in value, and that for me emphasizes the relative value and shows you the acceleration of the acceleration of type 4, the furtherance, which we call furtherance. It's that advancing energy, it's that promotion, simplification. And once you promote a queen, things get very simple. And so promotion's a type of simplification, gaining space. It's all connected. And a lot of players ignore that furtherance energy. And so in this position here, it continues on and it gets a little bit sharp, and black almost threatens mate, but it just doesn't quite have the tempo to do it, and then the advanced pawn passes, and I really hope you've enjoyed this example, and I really hope you go down below and comment, press the doobie-doos. I must emphasize for you that do not chase fool's gold. It's not about, remember in the end game, it's not about the king, it's not about the pieces, it's about the pawns. And so that doesn't mean the pieces can't be involved in mating attacks or tactics, or because there's still rich tactics in the end game, or strategy. But at the end of the day, if you know the golden rule for the end game about the pawns, then you're going to make the plan that works. Just like Nakamura looked at this, he wasn't distracted, didn't come up with anything else except pushing the passed pawn, and that was beautiful. And I'm sure if you put it in a computer, it would eventually crunch out the same results. Connected passed pawns, obviously they protect each other, they control all the squares in front of them, so they can't be blockaded. Passed pawns are like criminals, they need to be blockaded. And that's the thing, I mean, the further advanced it gets, the more valuable it gets. I mean, it's almost like when you blockade a pawn on the 6th rank, it's like the knight is worth 1 and the pawn is worth 3. So yeah, that's the general rule. I always say a passed pawn on the 6th or 3rd rank is worth 3, and obviously, and then it's worth when it gets the 7th rank and it's about to queen. What is its worth? What is its worth then? And so, do you see what I mean? How the furtherance is just an amazing type of accelerating your position. Also, it decelerates their position. It makes them defend, and so and 2 connected passed pawns on the 6th or 3rd rank. Like I said, they're worth 3 each, so that's worth 6, and a rook's worth 5. So yeah, they're criminals. They've got to be put in a cage. And obviously, 2 connected passed pawns, they often deliver a queen off the back of the truck. So there you go. So take care. Press the doobie-doos. Leave comments. I'm just starting out. I need all the support I can get. And I'll be very grateful to see my first one. And or 2 or 3. So, and if you focus on that and you stay grounded in those plans, you're gonna win game after game after game in the end game. All right, take care. Bye.